Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Today, we're going to be going over the server health check, how it can benefit you, why you may need it, all that kind of good stuff. So if you're an Alteryx server user and your organization really uses the server and you guys are looking to expand, you're looking to fix common issues, or just trying to see best practices on your Alteryx server, you've come to the right place. Hopefully, you learned something from today's webinar. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we can kind of hop into it. So hopefully you guys can see that okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So quick little agenda for today. So things we're going to go over. I'll do a quick little introduction of who data meaning, who we are just in general. You might be asking, why do we need a server health check? So we'll go over some reasons why an organization might want to do a server health check in the first place. What exactly is a server health check? So you might be asking, hey, listen, I use an Alteryx server, never really heard of a server health check before. What exactly does it entail? Hopefully you'll know by the end of this webinar session. We'll go over the benefits of it. Obviously, right, you're not going to want to do it if it doesn't actually have solid benefits to it. We'll go over requirements, execution steps, and go over some examples of what actually this process takes a look at. Then we'll take a look at Alteryx server best practices. Obviously, those are some of the reasons why you actually might be here, kind of wondering to know, hey, I'm using the Alteryx server. What are the best ways to use it? And then we'll take a look at a couple of use cases in which the Alteryx server has actually helped the Alteryx server health check has actually helped a few organizations. And then at the end, we'll do a quick little recap. We'll go over anything you guys may have questions on or along those lines there at the end. All right, so about data meaning itself. So who we are a consulting firm that specializes in everything leveraging data analytics and technology to drive business transformation, enhance decision-making processes for clients. By combining expertise in data science, business intelligence, data management, delivery management, and industry-specific knowledge, the firm helps organizations optimize their operations, improve customer experiences, and achieve strategic goals. So that's kind of who we are from a very high level. Some certifications we own specifically in Alteryx, right? We are here for the Alteryx server. We're a solution provider partner. We have a lot of people that are server certified, including myself. We have designer advanced, designer core. We have a few designer experts. So pretty wide range of certifications when it comes to the Alteryx server. Like I said, I'm actually certified in all of these except the designer expert, but have been using the Alteryx platform from designer to server to the cloud platform for about 5 or 6 years now. So please, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. Save them for the end. We'll definitely get you sorted away by the end of this webinar. So, okay, so why do you need a server health check? So raise your hand if you've ever experienced any issues in your server environment, right? I'm sure everyone here has, or if you're watching this webinar, I'm sure something has popped up one time or another, right? So for examples, do unexpected errors and instability affect your Alteryx gallery? So are you constantly dealing with scheduled workflows running into errors and having to go back and fix the error internally, right? You have a scheduled workflow and you're trying to run it on that schedule. You get an error and you have to go back, fix something, and manually do it anyway, right? So server health check hopefully can somewhatly fix that for you. Do you experience long processing time for jobs? So are your jobs constantly going into the queue and forcing you to wait for answers rather than getting it right when you actually need it? So hopefully the server health check, if you're running into that issue, will fix queue times for you. And we'll go over how the server health checks can help all of these symptoms throughout this presentation today. Are unexpected service downtimes disrupting your environment? So does your Alteryx service ever stop running when you're creating gaps when you're in your organization or trying to use the server? Or even worse, just stop working while workflows are running, causing errors in processing? Actually, nothing worse than workflows being run on a constant basis and the server itself actually going down, right? And then you can't even access what actually was happening within those workflows. Do you know which tools you are using? So at a workflow level across all of the workflows in your gallery, do you know what the most common tools that your organization is using? Alteryx Server Health Check can tell you that. Is your backup and recovery procedure ready? So if something catastrophic happens and you lose your entire server environment, if that were to happen right now, what's your plan for fixing that? Right. So having an understanding of, okay, how often are we backing up? How do we recover? How do we redeploy? Those are all things that need to be on top of mind in your organization. That way, if something does happen to your Ultra server, right, you're ready to go at the blink of an eye. Are you following best practices? I think this is always a big one for people, right? It's like, okay, we're using the Alteryx server, and for the most part, it's simple and easy to use, right? But hey, are we actually following best practices to get the most out of the Alteryx server? If you relate to any, all, not maybe just some of these issues, a server health check could help you begin to uncover and fix these issues right off the bat. So why do you need a server health check, right? I think this pretty much kind of goes along with, everything, in your organization probably, and why data analytics really is on the forefront of a lot of organizations' minds, right? Is you're trying to go from being reactive to proactive, right? So when you're reactive, you have gallery issues, you have longer queue times, you might have environment instabilities. When you try to become proactive, right, you're always looking for improvement opportunities. You're prepared for usage increase. You apply best practices to the Alteryx server, right? So being proactive rather than reactive allows individuals and organizations to anticipate challenges before they arise, right? Leading to more effective decision making and really just better outcomes. Proactive behavior fosters a mindset of preparation and foresight, enabling one to identify risks and address them ahead of time. This approach not only minimizes disruptions, but also cultivates a culture of resilience where stakeholders are equipped to handle unexpected changes with confidence. By investigating a preventative measures and strategic planning, proactive entities can create a competitive advantage, ultimately enhancing productivity and innovation. Right. So the more proactive you are, the faster you can get ahead of things and be prepared for things to pop up in your environment, the less reactive you need to be, right? Less reactive, more proactive, always a better thing. All right, so what exactly is a server health check, right? So, a server health check is a comprehensive assessment to evaluate the performance, stability, and overall health of your Alteryx server deployment. So, this process involves everything from reviewing key components such as system configurations, resource utilization such as CPU, memory, disk drive space, all that kind of stuff, job performance, workflows, anything that's related to your server machine, whether it's the machine itself or the Alteryx software just in general. Our server health check goes in there, takes a look at it, and really can identify potential issues, optimize performance, and ensure the server is operating smoothly and efficiently. It also includes verifying configuration of user permissions, workflows, connections to data sources, really kind of making sure everything is set up for optimal operation. Really, regular health checks are essential for maintaining the reliability and efficiency for the Alteryx server. You want to run these on a kind of scheduled basis, right? Not just kind of like a one-time thing. But every once in a while, you kind of want to run these to prevent downtime and really improve the user experience. It's really all about trying to go back to that proactive approach to maximize the value derived from your Alteryx server, right? So just in general, it's really just taking a look at all the components of your server machine, the software and everything, and making recommendations on what you could possibly be doing better within your environment. All right, so product coverage. So what exactly are we looking at, right? So there's three main points in what the Alteryx Server Health Check is going to take a look at, right? It's really going to dive deep into the infrastructure, what's being installed on your machine. The Alteryx server deployment, so the server itself, that's the controller, the MongoDB, the gallery, all that kind of stuff. And then just server usage, right? So going into a little bit more detail on all of this. So like machine specifications, right? So detailing the hardware and the software configurations of the Alteryx server environment. So operating system version, CPU type and seed, amount of RAM, your disk type, whether it's an HDD or an SSD, total disk space, network specifications, right? Understanding all of these specifications helps in addressing whether the infrastructure meets the requirements for optimal Alteryx performance, right? So it's not only the software you're worried about, but you're actually worried about the machine it's running on. Hey, does this machine have enough disk drive space? Does it have enough CPU memory, right? If you're hitting these peak times at certain times, you need to make sure you're optimized for those peak times with your actual machine specifications themselves. So also, we'll dive deep into Windows logs. So, right, what do these provide? These provide critical insights into the operating system's performance and any issues that may arise within the Windows its operating system itself. So, it reviews event viewer logs, particularly the application and system logs. Really can help identify any errors or warnings related to the Alteryx servers, such as service failures, application crashes, security events that may be arising. Really something important to regularly monitor, whether it's through a server health check or not, actually. Windows disk analysis, so involves evaluating the health and performance of servers storage system. So available disk space, read-write space, as far as what's on the disks and everything. Really crucial for ensuring that the Alteryx server has adequate resources for processing workflows efficiently. And then lastly, the memory and the CPU peaks, right? So understanding the usage is essential for understanding the server's workload and performance. You really want to analyze those peak times because this can reveal patterns in resource consumption and really help identify bottlenecks and potential overloads during these peak times. So takes a look at things like the task manager and the performance monitor to really track those metrics over time, really to allow for adjustments in resource allocation or scaling of the server environment if it's installed on like an EC2 instance, right, to make sure it's scaling properly at the right time. So understanding peaks and valleys at the same time is really important to understanding the health of your Alteryx server. Okay, so that's infrastructure, right? So the actual server deployment itself, right? So the actual software that you're deploying on this machine. So understanding server configuration. So reviewing settings and parameters of the Alteryx server to make sure that it's at an optimal performance and alignment with best practices. So it's going to take a look at, like I said, the scheduler, the gallery, the worker nodes, really just key aspects to analyze the network settings, the load balancing configuration, authentication methods, resource allocation. It's going to take a look at all of this to see if there's any inefficiencies that could impact performance, stability, security, any of that nature. Gallery settings analyzer, right? So this focuses on the configuration and the performance of the Alteryx gallery. So that front end web based interface that everyone's actually interacting with. So it's going to take a look at user permissions, workflow access settings, the data connection configurations, really to kind of make sure that everything's good to go, running properly. And then take a look at performance metrics such as load times, peak user engagement. So when is your organization really going into this web-based front-end interface? How many users do you guys have going on at once? How often are they actually spending on that gallery interface? All that type of information to really make sure you're optimizing how the gallery is performing for end users, right? The server is for the end users. You want to make sure that that gallery itself is optimizing at peak performance. Lastly, it's going to do some MongoDB analysis, right? So the analysis involves evaluating the performance and the health of the MongoDB, right? So that's the database that underpins the Alteryx server. So by checking database performance metrics such as query response times, read-write operations, storage usage, all that kind of information, you can monitor for any potential delays that may stop or slow down workflows just in general. So you really want to make sure the Alteryx server can efficiently access and store the workflows, the logs, the user information, anything that it needs to pull from that MongoDB, right? You want to make sure that it's working at peak optimization. That way it's running smooth and properly. And then last but not least, right, the server usage, taking a look at queue times, workflow analyzer, and the data meaning usage report. So queue times, right? So I'm sure this is normally a big issue when it comes to people and why they may be interested in a server health check in general, right? Is, hey, we're running into these really long queue times. And really what that is right, you're trying to kick off a workflow and it's not even running for a few minutes before it actually starts executing the actual workflow itself, right? So analyzing queue times is really important to identify bottlenecks in the system, really during those peak times, and really kind of tracking and measuring queue times can help organizations pinpoint whether an issues arise from resource constraints, such as maybe insufficient worker nodes or insufficient workflow design, right? So really reducing queue time is going to cause a lot of organizations less headaches with individuals wanting workflows to be run and run in an efficient manner, right? So this Alteryx Server Health Check will also do a workflow analysis. So it assesses various aspects of the workflow, such as efficiency, performance bottlenecks, and potential errors. It'll actually go in there, take a look in your workflows and understand, okay, what tools are we using? How we're using them? Could we be doing things better, right? And then last but not least, the data meaning usage report that you're going to get from this Alteryx Server Health Check provides insights into how Alteryx Server is being utilized across the organization. So gives you a wide number of metrics such as workflows on the server, workflows executed, user engagement levels, peak usage time, resource and consumption trends. And not only will it give you those informations, but it'll analyze the data and make recommendations for how you can implement the Alteryx server a little better, whether it's moving workflows around, adjusting your schedule, allowing you to make informed decisions about scaling resources, optimizing workflows, and really just kind of understand Alteryx capabilities and how that fits in with your business needs, really to drive data-driven outcomes. All right, so now that we understand what is a server health check, what are the benefits of a server health check, right? So benefits of a server health check, here's some of them right here. They are definitely not limited to this, but these are kind of some of the ones that we see right at the top of why people might be most interested in running a server health check. Number one, not one that might be top of mind unless you're probably in IT, right? But resolve critical issues faster, right? So by implementing this proactive monitoring and analysis, right, it allows your organization to quickly identify and address critical issues within your Alteryx environment. So it's going to reduce downtime, minimize disruptions, and really enable teams to respond to challenges swiftly and maintain productivity without having your Alteryx server down at the most crucial moment. So obviously timely resolution to problems, foster a more resilient data environment just in general. So you want to enhance business continuity. So a well-maintained Alteryx server infrastructure ensures that business operations can continue seamlessly, even in the face of unexpected disruptions, right? So if you're performing these regular health checks and you're monitoring performance and you have a disaster recovery plan, all of these enhance business continuity, really allowing your organization to maintain their data workflows and decision-making process without interruption. Strengthen security measures, right? So strengthening security measures is vital for protective sensitive data and maintaining compliance with regulatory standards. I don't think I need to go into the importance of security here, right? I think everyone's on top of mind, especially with all the amount of data that's out there nowadays. And really just kind of implementing like robust authentication protocols and ensuring the server environment is secured against vulnerabilities is going to be top of mind for almost any IT security team out there. So optimize resource utilization. This is a big one though, where people really start to kind of think of these lower ones, right? They may not be as important on like a software level, but these are the ones that are kind of top of mind for a lot of business users. So optimizing resource utilization really just involves analyzing your system resources, your system performance, and making adjustments to the hardware and software to make sure things are running properly. So obviously, this kind of goes back to the proactive versus reactive. So if you can address areas where inefficiencies may occur, whether it be now or sometime in the near future, you can understand overutilized nodes, underutilized nodes, poorly designed workflows, right? It's all about kind of enhancing performance, reducing operational costs, and ensuring that your resources are allocated where they're needed most. Boost user satisfaction, right? This is a big one for any of the end users, not the people that might be in the nitty gritty of the back end of the Alteryx server, but people that are going on your gallery, running workflows on a constant basis, all of that kind of stuff, right? You want the user experience. You want people to want to use the Alteryx server. So really by improving the user experience, you're going to maximize the value of your Alteryx server within the organization, right? You really want it to be software, not shelfware. Future-proof your infrastructure, right? So you want to future-proof it. So if you're expecting to expand your Alteryx server by 15-20% workflows in the next 6 months, what's that going to look like for the backend, right? Are you going to need more hardware? Are you going to need more software? Do you need more nodes, right? So understanding where you're going with your Alteryx server usage also needs to play hand in hand with how things are actually being built out as far as scaling your resources to make sure you're kind of not bumping your head up against the top and you're giving yourself room to grow. And then last but not least, right, thing that everything ties into down at the end of it, right, is increasing ROI. So really by focusing on efficiency, performance optimization, user engagement, you want your organization to significantly increase their return on investment in Alteryx. So by streamlining your process, by reducing your operational costs, faster insights, better decision making, all of that this Alteryx server is supposed to do for you. If the server is well optimized, it's just going to do it so much better in the end. All right, so requirements, execution steps, and example, right? So what are the execution steps? How do we do this Alteryx server, right? So number one, you have to raise issues or concerns. If everyone thinks the Alteryx server is running perfectly, right, no one's going to push for a server health check. So you need to raise issues or concerns. Think back to the beginning of this presentation when I talked about some of the issues on why a server health check might be of importance, right? Bring those up to your leaders, organization, say, hey, I have concerns. Maybe I'm running into queue times too often. Maybe my Alteryx gallery is running too slow. It can be kind of anything, right? Then the execution, the data capture itself. So we'll talk here in a little bit about what that looks like, right? We've built out a program full of Alteryx workflows, analytic apps, macros, to basically go in there, go into the server machine, run some different tests, extract some information that's going to give us the data to which we can then take to number 3, analyze, right? So the data itself is just data until someone actually goes in there and analyzes it. So once we get all that data, with which we'll see here in a minute how that's done, we'll actually do an analysis on that data. And then obviously we're not going to hold that analysis to ourselves. We're then going to make recommendations to you for what we're seeing in that analysis. So we're not going to leave you hanging. We're going to analyze that data, and then we'll give our honest and professional recommendation for your server environment, right? Hey, this is what we're seeing. This is how we think we can optimize your server environment, whatever the case may be. And then last but not least, right, those recommendations, once they're in your hand, we're not going to just kind of leave you hanging once again with recommendations. We're going to help you take actions on that Alteryx server, right? So, and that's going to be where you're actually going to start to see the server health check actually reap the benefits. If you're not executing on the recommendations, they're just recommendations. So requirements, 3 easy requirements, not crazy here. So what we need from data meaning to do one of these server health checks, obviously we need access to the Alteryx environment, so access to the machine. However, you guys want to go about doing that, we can hop on a meeting. You can give us access if it's via VM, whatever it may be. We just do need access to that environment. We do need a single gallery user with admin rights. This is mainly because we'll need to pull information using some of their like API keys and secrets and all that kind of information that a specific curator would only have access to. And then last but not least, pretty simple, we just need a central point of contact who we can talk to on your guys' server team. So obviously, right, it needs to kind of be a two-way street of conversation to be had once the analysis is done. So we just need a contact. So 3 very simple requirements when it comes to the Alteryx Server Health Check itself. All right, so here is what is actually going to be run on your server machine. So as you can see here, we have 9 workflows / analytic apps. Within those 9 workflows analytic apps, there are, it looks like 9 more macros, right? So we embed macros into these workflows apps. They do things such as go in there and extract configurations, right? So it's looking at your system settings and everything. It's taking a look at configurations of your actual machine and all of that. We're going to take a look at gallery settings, right? So your actual gallery settings, that web front end user interface for the Alteryx server. We're going to take a look at the persistence layer, right? So the MongoDB, we're going to go in there. We're going to take a look at settings. We're going to take a look at what's all kind of going on in the background and kind of the brain of the Alteryx server, as I like to call it. We're gonna look at all of the workflows, right? So that's what those 5s are doing, that 5A and 5B. So we're gonna download all of the workflows as files. We're then gonna run another workflow that goes in there and extracts information that you can use to see, hey, what exactly are our workflows doing? Are there areas for improvement and efficiency of how these workflows actually run, right? So it's not only server checking the health of the server, but it's checking the health of the actual workflows itself. It's taking a look at engine logs, right? Hey, are we seeing any failures? Are we seeing any crashes, any bugs, anything along those lines? And then last but not least, that data model preparation. We'll see here in a little, we actually put all of those files, those outputs kind of together, build a data model, and actually give you guys a Power BI dashboard that kind of spits out all of this information. So that way you can kind of see it not just in like a basic Excel file. It's actually in there. You can see kind of exactly what it's looking like from a dashboard perspective. On the right side over there, right, we see our outputs. So we're actually going to give you 7 folders worth of outputs. Once again, that's going to all kind of be consolidated in both a report and an actual dashboard along with our recommendations and everything. This is just all of the basic information you guys would have in there. You're more than welcome to build your own dashboards, take a little bit of what we give you, build a little bit on top of that, all that information. So this is just showing you what's going to be running in your environment and what you're going to be receiving. Here's an example of what some of the workflows look like. Obviously not going to go too deep into this. If you are familiar with the Alteryx platform and building analytic apps, as you can see, those workflows actually get translated into analytic apps. And here's some of basically all the information we're going to need to run this, right? We've built these workflows. We've built them for you. This is just information we need from your Alteryx server environment, things such as the MongoDB port, the the username and the password to be able to go in and grab that information from the MongoDB. To pull things from your server itself, right? So there's some of those information such as data connections, user management, all that information, right? We're going to need just basic information from your API keys. And then some more information, right? We want to look into the log files. So we just need the engine log paths, right? Where are you guys writing those log files to? We just need basic information. The work's already been done for you. We just need the information to know where to go to get the information from. Here's just a quick little look at what the data model would look like. So if you're familiar with data models in Power BI, right, it's a connection of where all of this data is coming in and how it all plays hand in hand with each other. All right, so server best practices. So moving slightly away from the actual server health check itself and going into best practices, right? We have just kind of some quick hitters here of things to keep in mind when deploying your Alteryx server and understanding, hey, how is this Alteryx server going to run at its most optimal performance, right? So right off the top, maintaining version compliance on the Alteryx server. and make sure you're using the recommended Alteryx server version. Is essential for ensuring stability, security, access to the latest features, right? And doing regular updates help prevent security vulnerabilities, enhance performance, and ensure compatibility with new workflows and integrations, right? So that's honestly a big one at the end there. Some of the newest features that are coming out, right? You want access to those. They're going to make your life a lot easier. And you want to make sure that you're upgrading kind of on a regular basis to make sure you stay in compliance of what's actually supported by Alteryx and by Alteryx partners like ourselves. And make sure that you're running with kind of the newest and latest software, right? Security and access control measures on an Alteryx server are crucial for protecting sensitive data and ensuring that only authorized users can access and modify specific workflows, right? So you want to implement your role-based access control to assign permissions based on user roles, right? You want to enforce proper authentication for added security. If you want to, you can ensure SSL encryption for secure data transmission. And you really want to regularly audit user activity, permissions, really want to make sure you're in compliance with internal processes and regulations, right? So effective user management on the Alteryx server, that kind of goes hand in hand with the last statement, right? You want to make sure the right individuals have appropriate access and resource to what they are meant to have access to. A big one, right? That backup and recovery procedures. I know we talked about that a little bit previously in this presentation, but that's a big one, right? You want to make sure that you have your backup and recovery procedures readily available to protect against data loss, ensure business continuity, right? You want to set up regular scheduled backups of key components, especially of the MongoDB configuration files, the workflows. You want to store those backups in secure locations. Right. And you want to automate backup processes to reduce human error. You don't want to have someone go in and do this on a constant basis. You want to write scripts. You want to use softwares out there that are doing this on a scheduled basis, regular basis. That way you're not having to rely on an individual to do it itself. Optimize workflow design, right? This is a big one. You want to ensure efficient performance, reduce resource consumption, and minimize execution time. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory, right? You want things running off on a hitch and really allow people to run these large workflows without queue times, knowing that they're running as quickly as possible, getting the information they need when they actually need it. Schedule job optimization, right? So that's a big one. Understanding where jobs are scheduled on your server really improves performance and obviously just resource management in general. So you don't want to overload the server with a bunch of scheduled jobs at the exact same time. You want to stagger these jobs to really avoid peak usage time and prevent resource contention. So prioritize your critical jobs to run first. Have an understanding of what your non-priority jobs are, maybe run those at off-peak times, right? Use job dependencies to trigger workflows in sequence, all that kind of stuff. So just understanding how things are scheduled and being run on your Alteryx server is really important, and understanding that it's going to help just best practices in general. Last but not least, there's the high availability configuration there at the end. Not everyone's going to need this, right? But if you are running workflows on your Alteryx server and you're running things that need run, and when they need run, right? High availability is going to make it so that you have minimal downtime in the event of hardware or software failures, right? Everyone thinks hardware or software failures isn't going to happen to them until it does. So if you have mission critical workflows that need to be run when they need to be run, looking at something like high availability is important and can be set up with the Alteryx server. All right, so before I let you guys go and we do a quick recap and everything, let's go over two quick little use cases in which we've seen the Alteryx Server Health Check really actually help organizations optimize their Alteryx server. So here we were talking with a global retail company. The customer was experiencing numerous issues with the gallery, page loading errors, the internal database was oversized, right? Backups, upgrades were really difficult. There was no governance in their server at all. There were really long job queues. A lot of numerous schedules were kind of overlapped on top of each other, like I was talking about in the last slide. And what did we deliver after the server health check? We were really able to resolve all these issues and perform a product upgrade to a newer service of the Alteryx server, to allow them to space jobs out, to make sure that their server was scaled properly with the right number of worker nodes and all this stuff. So what did we fix, right? So we did an optimization of the actual server machine itself. So not the software, but the actual disks on the machine. So numerous issues of Windows regarding Windows were highlighted, right? So we were able to go in there and optimize the actual machine itself. So we recommended 3 expansion scenarios that suited their needs best. And then we also gave them the recommendation for the deployment of an Alteryx server sandbox, which they weren't using. Without the sandbox, they were just doing all of their testing and everything on the actual deployment, the production server, which obviously, if you're doing all your testing, that's going to take away resources from things that need to be being done in production. So internal database optimization, we were able to bring their Mongo database size down by 42% and fix a lot of the internal bugs. And then, not last but not least, right, we were able to give them best practice ideas. So we identified issue in gallery configurations, made things a little bit easier to work around for end users, and really gave recommendations for server governance, right? So understanding, hey, who needs access to what is the proper way to go about that? Hey, like how do individual users make asks on how they need specific needs within their gallery environment. The next one, right? So we helped a large financial institution, so a major bank with actually they have one of the largest Alteryx deployments in the world. They have thousands of users, several worker nodes, regular server operations were failing. They were trying to upload new workflows. They weren't being recognized right. Their servers were constantly crashing, multiple workflow failures an hour. Really, it was definitely just kind of a mess of things, just because they weren't kind of keeping up with the back end side of it, and they just kind of wanted things to work. So this was a pretty comprehensive system analysis. They were able to stabilize their Alteryx environment, reduce those errors, enhancing reliability and performance was a key thing for them. And really, they were not only able to fix their current environment, but they were able to keep expanding and perform regular backups, upgrades, to make sure that the software was running properly when it needed to run, right? So issues fixed, right? So we streamlined the MongoDB maintenance. They were trying to manage really large workflows, right? The metadata of these workflows. So we had to optimize the MongoDB persistence layer. Got rid of some of those constantly failing workflows, made recommendations on how to fix those, re-uploaded them so that they were running at a more on-time percentage and everything, and then really resolved critical server instabilities that were affecting the everyday operations. So we did this with automating disability of problematic workflows. So we put in safeguards there that basically said if a workflow kept failing, let's go ahead and let's remove it until someone is able to kind of fix that information. And then implemented automated maintenance scripts, right, for improving the server management. So as things were growing and scaling out, these automated scripts went in there and gave more resources, took more resources, all that kind of automated processing within the server machine itself. Performed a thorough analysis of existing workflows and identified key areas for improvement. So we worked with business users and understanding, hey, why are you making workflows like this? How can we make them more efficient and more efficiently just across the board, right? And then really focused on refining their mission critical workflows. So these really critical workflows that they needed run when they needed to be run, we're actually running, ensuring efficiency and reliability, right? So it's one thing to have your kind of nice to have workflows running, but the need to have workflows need to be running on a consistent basis. So last but not least, right, best practices and enablement. We really came in there and we created a comprehensive training roadmap for users and admins to optimize system use, right? So from a workflow level, we went in there and trained all of their analysts on how to properly build workflows and efficiently build workflows to run more efficient on the Alteryx server. And then make sure that admins understand, okay, what to look for, why to look for it, and how to fix those issues within their server environment. And then last but not least, right, establish best practices for server governance and workflow management. You don't want people to be going in. We want new people to be coming in and kind of ruin what the legacy people have done, right? So building out a program to understand, okay, what exactly is the best way to manage our workflows and our server environment is going to work the best for organizations. All right, so beyond the server health check, so what do we offer that some other server health checks do not offer? Really focuses in on some of the things that we collect and some of the customized solutions we offer, right? So we take deeper looks into the hardware data. We do a very comprehensive MongoDB extraction, lots of API calls to pull gallery information, take a look at your data connections, your connectors, all that, make sure that's running properly. Look at individual workflows, right? So we're not just looking at your server environment, we're looking at also workflows and taking a really in-depth look in the logs. With all of this information, we can we can offer customized monitoring to track workflow performance, resource utilizations, job status, customized dashboards to provide real-time insights on that. We can do enhanced notifications. So on top of just the default systems notifications that Alteryx server already offers, right? We can incorporate notifications through custom email templates to really offer detailed log, error summaries, action steps and really tailor those notifications based off of user roles. So whether you're just kind of a data analyst or you're an admin of the server, what notifications you're getting obviously is going to be different. We can identify Python, R, and BAT files. We can really help map user collections in a friendly way, right? Really make sure your gallery is set up in a user-friendly way. You want your end users to be able to interact with the gallery as easy as possible. And then last but not least, right, preparation for tools and server upgrade. You want to make sure that you're upgrading your designer, your server on a regular basis. You understand how to upgrade it, when to upgrade it, what's the best way to go about doing it so that you're not losing anything during that process. Last but not least, a quick little recap of what the Alteryx server is, right? So what is the Alteryx server? Start with the challenges. The big challenge just from going from reactive to proactive, right? So we no longer want queue times. We no longer want gallery issues. We don't want environment instability. What do we want? We want to apply best practices. We want to find improvement opportunities before as early as possible. And we want to be prepared to scale, right? We don't want to keep hitting our head off of the ceiling all the time. What exactly is the server health check, right? We do environment analysis. We do a gallery analysis. We give solution to the issues, and we recommend best practices. All of that, all in one, that is the server health check. And why do we do the server health check? All in all, most important reason, to increase ROI. How do we do that, right? We resolve critical issues faster. We enhance business continuity. We strengthen security measures, optimize resource utilization, boost user satisfaction, and future-proof your infrastructure. So that is the server health check. If you guys have any questions, happy to answer them. You can contact us at that email right there, or feel free to book a free discovery call with us right at that email. And we'd be happy to speak to you about anything, and definitely this server health check just in general. So thank you for joining. And if there are any questions, happy to answer them.
Sure. Thanks so much, Kali, for that great presentation. That's really, really awesome work. Okay, I don't know, people, if there anything specific you'd like to ask in the chat, in the Q&A section, feel free, please, to drop your question, please. But while we are waiting for your question to come in, I have a couple myself, right? So the first one is, how long does the typical process take?
Yeah, so the typical process, if you think about it, should almost be like a never-ending process, right? It's one of those things that you start, and it's continuous improvement. That is the point of the server health check. as far as the running of the workflows and getting the data and everything, a couple hours, honestly. And really, I say a couple hours just because things always seem to pop up, right? You hope just running these workflows is going to run quick. And if we can run through all 9 workflow apps we have in 30 minutes and we can collect that data, awesome, right? Then we take it back and we do the analysis and recommend. But I always say a couple hours just because you never know. There could be issues connecting to a file or something like that. But yeah, once we run those workflows, we get the data back, right? We take it, we do an analysis depending on how large your infrastructure is. It's kind of depending on how long those analyses may take, but shouldn't be too long. And then we can make the recommendations. But yeah.
Okay, okay, great. The second one is, how often do you recommend running a health check?
Yeah, really, once again, it's kind of up to your organization, right? It's almost a continuous improvement thing. I've seen people run them, very heavy utilized server users every few months, right? Once a year, I would say would probably suffice for most people, right? You like that's about kind of when think of you upgrade a software on your phone once a year, right? Or you upgrade the Alteryx server once a year. You kind of want to understand what you're looking like before upgrade. So we see a lot of people implementing the server health check kind of before or right after an upgrade to kind of see where they can make improvements on. But yeah, like I said, I've seen people do it as often as every couple months and all of that. Just kind of really, it's how proactive do you want to be? How often are you using your server? What is your server utilization looking like and all that? So no exact answer, but if that kind of puts your mind into the right direction. So
Okay, okay, that's awesome. Okay, thanks again, Cody, and thank you all for joining us. Remember, we'll be sending the recording to your emails in the next few weeks. So I think that's it for now. Have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us again. Okay.
awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.